The most striking truth about psychological ping-pong is that it doesn't work by proving you wrong. It works by making you too tired to be right. We generally assume that a conversation is an exchange of ideas intended to reach a solution, but in high-pressure dynamics, rapid-fire redirection is a tool used to overwhelm your brain until surrender feels like the only way to find relief. Why does trying to be logical in an argument often end with you feeling more confused than when you started? This is the core paradox of psychological ping-pong. The moment your own intelligence and need for fairness are used to exhaust your logic entirely.
So let's really unpack that idea. This isn't a battle of wits. It's not a debate club where the best facts win. No, this is a strategy that basically weaponizes pace. The goal isn't to take your argument apart piece by piece, but to just completely flood your ability to think. Imagine someone just serving you one thing after another. New topics, old grievances, random redirects, so fast that your brain can't even get its footing. And when you finally give in, it's not because you think you're wrong, it's a desperate search for quiet. You're just trying to make the noise stop.
And this is a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to, right? You go into a conversation, you're armed with reason, you genuinely want to solve something. You've got your points lined up, you're ready for a fair exchange. But then you walk away feeling foggy, disoriented, maybe even wondering if you're just not smart enough for this. But see, that's the trick. The game being played was never about logic. It was about using your best qualities, your intelligence, your patience, your need to be fair, and using them to methodically wear you down until you can't think straight at all.
So to make sense of all this, we're going to break it down. We'll start with the exhaustion paradox and what it actually feels like to get linguistic vertigo. Then we'll dissect the whole process, the anatomy of an overload, to really see how it works. And we'll look at the ultimate goal, compliance through fatigue. But, and this is important, we're not just going to leave you there. We'll talk about how you can reclaim your mental space, your sovereignty, and harness the incredibly simple but powerful idea of slowing things down.
Okay, first up, the exhaustion paradox. This is all about that fundamental shift. The moment a conversation stops being a productive dialogue and instead turns into an exercise in pure mental saturation.
Yeah, this slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? In a healthy, active dialogue, we're both trying to get on the same page. You listen, you process, you respond, all with the goal of mutual understanding. But with psychological ping-pong, the whole objective gets flipped on its head. The goal is cognitive exhaustion. The person doing this isn't waiting for you to process what they're saying, they're waiting for you to get so tired that you'll just accept their simplified conclusion to make it all stop. It completely rewrites the rules of engagement.
And that's exactly why you can't win this kind of argument on its merits. Because it's not an argument, it's a mental enclosure. It's a box built out of rapid-fire topic switches and old grievances and unrelated accusations, and its only purpose is to make you run in circles until you're too exhausted to even look for the door. And you know, over time, this does more than just make you lose a single debate. It can actually wear down your habit of thinking critically in that person's presence. It teaches you that trying to engage just leads to being tired.
So next, let's really get into the specifics. What are the tools used to create this feeling of conversational dizziness, this linguistic vertigo? Now, this isn't just a feeling. It's a real thing, a documented principle from behavioral science. Think of your brain's processing power like the RAM in your computer. In a normal chat, you open one application, one topic, and you dedicate your resources to it. But this tactic, it forces you to open dozens of applications all at once without letting you close any of the old ones. A point about last week, a comment about something you said a year ago, an accusation about your tone. Suddenly, your RAM is totally maxed out. And what happens? The system slows down, it freezes, and eventually it just crashes. And that crash, that's the shutdown of your analytical mind.
So why is this so incredibly effective? Well, it preys on two very common and often very noble beliefs we hold. First, there's the resolution trap. This is that little voice in your head, the conscientious one, that says, okay, to be fair, I have to address every single point they just brought up. Your own integrity becomes the very tool used to overwhelm you. Then there's the linguistic vertigo. After being hit with so much, so fast, you start to turn the blame inward. You think, wow, maybe I'm just not quick enough. Maybe my brain is just too slow to keep up. You start to mistake a manufactured exhaustion for a personal failure.
Okay, so even though it feels completely chaotic when you're in it, there's often a surprisingly predictable pattern at play here. So let's dissect the anatomy of this overload. Let's turn that vague, uneasy feeling into an observable three-step sequence.
This slide basically lays out the entire game plan. It starts with step 1, the rapid serve.
You bring up one specific current issue, let's call it point A. But in response, they don't even touch point A. They serve back point K, a totally different issue from way back when. So then you move to step 2, the volley. You try to get back on track, right? You say, wait, that's important, but can we just resolve point A first? But every single attempt to clarify is just met with this relentless volley of new points, L, M, N, each one pulling you further away. And finally, you hit step 3, the analytical collapse. Your brain is juggling way too many things, it's stressed out, and it's biologically wired to find the path of least resistance. And right at that moment of peak exhaustion, the controller offers you a simple path out, and your brain just gratefully latches onto it, just for some relief.
You know, this quote from the research just captures the feeling perfectly. It stops feeling like a one-on-one conversation. The sheer number of points coming at you, and how fast they're coming. It's less like a dialogue and more like you're defending against a swarm. It forces you into this exhausting defensive crouch that leaves absolutely no mental space for clear, proactive thinking.
All right, so we've looked at the what and the how. Now let's dig into the really deep why. What's the psychological principle that makes this so powerful? What's the actual goal here?
The answer, believe it or not, is in our own biology. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman talked about 2 systems of thinking. System 1 is our fast, intuitive gut reaction brain. But System 2, that's our slow, deep, analytical brain. It's what we use for complex problem solving and logic. Now, System 2 is incredibly powerful. But here's the catch. It's like a muscle. It gets tired. It runs on a finite daily resource. Psychological ping-pong is basically a strategy to force your System 2 to do cognitive sprints until that muscle is completely burned out. It drains your analytical battery until all you have left is your automatic, easy path-seeking System 1. It's not a flaw in your character, it's just how the human brain works.
When you put the 2 motivations side by side like this, it's just so revealing. The controller's goal is dead simple. Get you to comply by making the conversation too exhausting to navigate. They win when you give up. And what's your vulnerability? Often, it's your own decency. It's that deeply ingrained need to be fair, to hear someone out, to address all their points. It's like one person is playing chess, trying to wear you down, while you're just trying to play a friendly game of checkers and follow the rules. Your own good intentions become the fuel for your own exhaustion. And this is what it all leads to. This is the big psychological shift. Your brain, completely out of that System 2 energy, has to abandon its mission of finding truth and clarity. It switches to a much more primal goal, just ending the discomfort. The most important question is no longer what's right or what's true, it's what do I have to say or do to make this stop? And in that moment, complete control has been surrendered.
Okay, let's shift gears from understanding to action. Knowing this stuff is the most important step, but how do you actually defend against it in the moment? We're going to cover 2 simple, really powerful protocols to neutralize this whole thing and reclaim your conversational space. And the key here isn't to fight fire with fire. It's not about getting faster. It's about changing the rules of the game entirely. Here are your tools. First, the one-topic audit. This is a quiet, internal checklist you run during the conversation. You just consciously ask yourself, hey, are we still talking about what we started with? Or have 5 new things just been thrown in? This simple act of awareness helps you spot the difference between genuine passion and a strategic flood. The second tool is the broken record protocol. Once you see that topic switch, you politely but firmly refuse to follow. You pick the original point and you just stick to it. You can say things like, that's a really interesting point, and we can talk about it later. But right now, we need to resolve this one issue. No matter how many new serves come your way, you just let them fly past. You only focus on the one ball that's in play.
But really, all of this comes down to giving yourself permission. This entire tactic relies on you agreeing, even unconsciously, to play at their speed. Reclaiming your sovereignty is as simple and as profound as realizing, I am allowed to slow this down. I don't have to match their chaotic pace. This isn't about being difficult, it's about being deliberate, and it's the single most powerful thing you can do to break the cycle.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important takeaway. If you remember nothing else from our time together, please let it be this fundamental truth. Psychological ping-pong works because it sells you a lie. The lie is that speed equals intelligence, that if you can't keep up, you're somehow not good enough. The real truth, the absolute antidote to this whole dynamic, is that clarity is always more important than speed. It's so much better to resolve one single point slowly, with full understanding, than it is to skim across 20 points in a total state of confusion. In this context, slow isn't weak, slow is strategic.
So let's wrap up with the key lessons. First,
That brain fog you feel, it's not a sign of incompetence, it's a predictable biological response to being overloaded. Second, the act of taking your time to process something, that is an act of power. It's you asserting your right to understand before you respond. And finally, awareness is your shield. Just recognizing the pattern is the first and most important step to protecting your own mind.
So I'll leave you with a final mantra. When you feel that pace starting to quicken, when you feel the topic starting to shift, just remember these 3 simple commands. Stop the serve, recognize what's happening, and refuse to play the game. Pick a point, choose one topic, and hold the focus right there. And most importantly, take your time. Your mind is your own. You have every right to move at a pace that allows for clarity.